Dr. Ford, thank you for sharing with RealUrbanNews.com. Although you are well respected in the medical field both nationally and internationally, it was the recent earthquake that devastated your place of birth, Haiti, that thrust you into the limelight. What was that experience like for you?
Well, which one? Being thrust in the limelight or going to Haiti? Frankly, it's one of these life-changing experiences that you ask yourself, why and how did it happen? When the earthquake struck, it was clear to me that I needed to go down to Haiti because I was uniquely prepared or uniquely qualified to intervene in a catastrophe for such a time as this. It's for multiple, and I say that for multiple reasons. I'm Haitian American. I know the language. I was born there. I happen to be a pediatric surgeon. Haiti, as you probably know, is a country that is relatively young in terms of population. Roughly 50% of the population is less than 18 years old. So you have a situation where bricks are falling on children, causing all sorts of trauma. I am a pediatric surgeon with expertise in trauma, who speaks the language, who knows the country. So there was no question that I belonged in Haiti immediately after the earthquake. So for me, it was a matter of figuring out how to get down there in order to be able to be of some use to the country. I needed to be down there to help bring healing, comfort, and whatever other compassion I could to the people of my native country. That was the only motivating factor, but somehow in the midst of doing what I felt was a call to, or answering what I felt was a call to duty or call to action, I found myself in the middle of this media frenzy, but the primary focus has always been about trying to help the Haitian people, and I think by virtue of the fact that when you look at my background and whatever else, my preparation, I emerged, or I evolved during that entire period from being a provider of acute surgical care to really becoming a leader, coordinator of the health delivery system around the region where I was deployed.
Talk about your first 24 hours on the ground in Haiti, and what did you find initially when you hit the ground?
Well, I had a slightly different experience because once I arrived in Haiti, I reported to the U.S. Embassy to join the team that had been deployed by the Department of Health and Human Services. That's the DMAT team, Disaster Medical Assistance Team, and that's where I was assigned. But within several hours, we had a child, a 6-year-old boy, who presented with a very distended abdomen. Basically, he was in extremis. He was lethargic, his abdomen was distended and tender, he had a brick collapse on his lower abdomen, and we had not urinated in 4 days. It was clear that he needed an emergent operation. I mean, there was no place for me to operate on him at the U.S. Embassy because we only had a makeshift clinic, and we turned a waiting room into a clinic to deal with the earthquake victims, and then they took a closet and converted it into an operating room, but mostly to do amputations. But this child was going to need a formal operation, and and I didn't know whether or not he was going to require ventilator support. Did he have to be in an intensive care afterwards? So clearly it was not going to be the proper environment for us to operate on him. So consequently, the decision was made to send him, to life flight him to the USS called Vincent that was in the Bay of Port-au-Prince. And the captain informed us that I needed to come over to the ship to do the operation as well because they didn't have any pediatric surgeons. So I found myself deployed to the aircraft carrier and operated on the child there, and he did well. And when I thought I was done and getting ready to get on the helicopter to head back to to rejoin my team, they asked me to stay for another night or to spend the night because they had additional people who needed operation. So I operated on a little girl who had a piece of brick impaled in her skull, and that was pressing on the brain. And so we did that, and to the best of my abilities as a non-neurosurgeon, we had the brick break down into multiple fragments, and most of which I was able to retrieve, but there were two fragments that were lodged further on in dangerous areas near of the brain that did not feel that it was appropriate for me to perform a craniectomy, meaning removing a portion of the skull. So we called the only neurosurgeon that we knew on the island, which happened to be CNN's Sanjay Gupta, and came over by helicopter the next morning, just helped clean that out. And from then on, once we had completed this operation, we got back on the chopper and we headed back to the city. Once I got to Port-au-Prince, and on our way to establish the field hospital, the devastation, the misery, the suffering that we encountered was simply unimaginable. I mean, as a native Haitian, the structures that I was used to seeing growing up were completely leveled or flattened. It was just, it was truly apocalyptic. Very difficult to see, and the stench as we drove through was just inescapable. So everyone was basically had their faces essentially covered and their noses pinched, or were putting all sorts of other salves so they could breathe. After we set up the field hospital,
it had to be an emotional challenge for you as a native son to be back on your homeland.
Members of my team to let people in the tent cities know that we had set up this field hospital and they could finally come and get some help. It was painful to see. It was painful to walk on streets where I used to either play or drive on my way home to see what had happened. And it was very hard to fight the tears. Just seeing the miseries, seeing the suffering of the people. It was gut-wrenching.
You saved a lot of lives while you were there.
We went there with hoping to make a difference, and there's no question we were blessed to be able to make a difference. We saved a lot of lives, and in many ways made sure that some people did not end up with amputations, but by the same token we also recognize that there were many people, many lives that were lost that would not have been lost in this country. And for those reasons, we will always feel guilty. There are some hard choices that we had to make because the supplies were limited, and you have to select who should receive the limited supplies under those circumstances, who had the best chance of making a full recovery. Those are the kinds of decisions you have to make, especially within the first 2 weeks after the earthquake. So those were hard decisions.
What lessons should the international medical community learn, or have learned, or should be probably still learning from the catastrophe in Haiti?
Well, first of all, I think the outpouring of humanitarian support was phenomenal. I mean, the international community responded in a magnificent way. I mean, I was really so pleased to see countries from from everywhere represented at the airport, just establishing field hospitals wherever they could. That was truly a remarkable show of humanitarian support. Nonetheless, I think there are a few things that we learned that could potentially make an impact especially if we experience a disaster of disproportion in, say, in Southern California.